Hey, it is November 8th. Of course, yours truly, it's on Blue Jackets After the Horn. If you guys want to get on the show, of course, we're going to go for the next half hour. You can give us a call, 929-205-6099. That gets you on with yours truly. Buffalo Sabres end up losing tonight 5-3 against the Capitals in Washington. One of the biggest things I want to talk about is the power play tonight. And, of course, Ovechkin ended up getting number 741, so congrats to him. But lots of problems tonight that we ended up seeing, and of course I want your comments and questions, so feel free to jump on. Anyways, tonight, of course, 5-3 loss. We will carry the Don Granato post conference a little bit later on tonight, but there was a lot of things that went wrong. The shots on goal were pretty even. It was 30-28 in favor of the Caps. Sabres getting decimated on the faceoff percentages again, 56-44%. Power play, Sabres went 0 for 3, while the Caps ended up going 1 for 3. The Sabres only had 2 shots on the power play, and I want to talk about that in a moment. 6 minutes apiece in the box. The Sabres get out hit 20-11. 15 blocks for the Capitals, 6 only for the Sabres, and then giveaways were fairly even at 4-3. What on earth is going on with this power play? I mean, seriously, you only have 2 shots on 3 opportunities? 2 shots on 3 opportunities. Think about that. You have 6 minutes altogether across 3 power plays, and you only manage to get 2 shots on goal. My friends, that's not going to win you any games. Flat out. I mean, that is not going to win you any games. Basically, how the game ended up going, Tom Wilson ended up opening it up early, 2:13 in the first. He ends up getting a second goal of the year, assisted by Ovechkin and Van Zereen. And then Connor McMichael ends up scoring, open up the second period, 2:30. From Schultz and Hagelin. Cody Eakin actually got an unassisted goal at 3:43 of the second, so he actually ended up bringing us back relatively close right at that time. But then Ovechkin at 8:55 of the second ends up getting his 11th goal of the season, number 741 on his career, assisted by Orlov and Kuznetsov. So I got to say, someone who's watched hockey for a long time and grew up around it and has a dad that played for the Junior Sabres back when the team first started. I'll tell you one thing. I mean, Ovechkin, I hope he breaks Gretzky's record, honestly. I mean, he definitely has the talent to do it, and he has the ability to do it. And, congrats on getting number 741. I'll tell you that right now. And then basically from that point, third period is when we saw a lot of breakdown. Anders Bjork ended up scoring for us at 3:17 in the third, assisted by Ruotsalainen and Hag. Tom Wilson comes back shortly thereafter, 6:45 of the third, assisted by Kuznetsov. John Carlson, 17:47 of the third, assisted by Kuznetsov and Ovechkin, who had a multi-point night. And then Colin Miller made it interesting towards the end, getting his first of the season, assisted by Pizik and Hinostroza at 18:56 of the third. So, I mean, at least in a lot of ways with what we ended up seeing tonight, I mean, yes, there were some flashes that the Sabres were fighting, but you gotta think about it in a couple ways. We just don't have all of the talent that all of the other teams have. We just don't right now. The good thing is at least Eichel's gone in terms of the distraction. Bad thing is we don't have Eichel. So kind of take it for what it is. It's just, unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. We need to be able to get some talent in here. And, I mean, when Alex Tuch comes back, I mean, he'll definitely add a lot to the offense once his shoulder heals up. Peyton Krebs actually had a really good night down in Rochester for his first night, ended up getting some points, and he's already starting to fit in pretty well down there. So I'm really looking forward to see what he can do, especially as he grows in that system and gets some time with Peterka and Quinn. So that'll be a really nice positive. But I mean, the bottom line is that this team is going to go through some growing pains. I mean, there's no way around it. It's going to happen. Now it's just a matter of when we get there and when we start having a lot of better performances and when we play with more consistency. I do have to say that on the whole, at least the team seems to be giving an effort most nights. And it's something where I do like that Granato's playing to the strengths of a lot of the team, and he's giving them all the opportunities in the world. And I mean, there is the speed. I mean, there is. I mean, especially on that last attempt on that Skinner had on that right before the game ended, where he ended up trying to go in on that backhand. I mean, that was a great effort. Now he ended up landing on goaltender's shoulder, but the same thing. He kept fighting for the puck and he kept trying to drive towards the net. I have to give him a lot of credit for that. And Tage Thompson is also having a little bit of a better season. I mean, he's definitely putting more on the shot, and he's definitely, I think, becoming more of a complete two-way player. So, I mean, that's a big positive. As we see the others coming up, I mean, Middlestad's playing better. I mean, I really like a lot of what Hag is doing, actually. I mean, he's been playing better than what I would have thought. And then when you look at some of the younger guys like Kenneth Rose, I mean, he's playing fairly well. And I mean, I have to give Ruotsalainen a lot of credit too. I mean, he's growing and developing and he's doing fairly well. So there are going to be those nights. I mean, yes, there's going to be growing pains. I mean, we're still early in the season. And that's just how it is. I mean, unfortunately, one of the things I can tell you is I don't think this team is definitely not in a win now mentality, but it is something where I do think that there are opportunities we can get there. If you want to jump on the show, 929-205-6099. We'll definitely take some comments. We'll go to about 10:30 or so. And basically, of course, I would love to talk to everybody, so feel free to jump on board. What I'm going to do before we go into some other thoughts on the game itself, basically, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other games tonight. So right now, the LA Kings are leading the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1, and there's only 4:48 left in the third. The New York Rangers ended up beating the Florida Panthers 4-3, and then of course Washington beat us 5-3 today, and that's really all we've got on tap right now. So a little bit of a quieter night in the hockey league than we normally see, but tomorrow night, November 9th, we're going to definitely see some additional games going on. Of course, Ottawa versus Boston, the LA Kings versus Montreal, Carolina versus Tampa, Florida versus New Jersey. So Florida's going to be right back at it on the road trip. Edmonton versus Detroit, St. Louis versus Winnipeg. And then we also have Pittsburgh and Chicago, San Jose Sharks and Calgary, Anaheim and Vancouver, and Seattle and the Golden Knights. That's going to be a game to watch, especially out in the West. And that's something where I definitely am going to turn into that one because I want to see how those two teams match up for their first ever meeting. Vegas, I mean, there's a lot to like about them, and I've definitely been paying some closer attention to them ever since they came into the league. Seattle, I definitely like following them also right now, and very interested to see what they're going to do, of course. So that's going to be the matchup of the night, I think, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen out of that. Of course, any comments that you guys have, feel free to hit me up, of course. I know a few of you guys are watching right now. First and foremost, I know one of the people that's been hanging in there on the last couple podcasts we've been watching, former sports reporter Lauren Brill, creator of The Unsealed. Thanks for watching. Glad to have you aboard. We'll get you on here one of these days. And, definitely nice to talk to you lately. And then, of course, everybody else that's watching as well. Definitely, I appreciate that. It's nice to have this back on more often compared to what we used to do. And of course, we're going to keep it going as much as we can. A couple of things that were commented on earlier, Lee Gillette, and mentioning that power play was like watching the Bills in the red zone lately. Oh, don't get me started about that game yesterday. That was absolutely a pathetic football game. Actually, our show contributor and host and co-host of Buffalo After Dark, Sean O'Malley, ended up having a really good rant video on our YouTube page. So if you want to check that out, absolutely watch it. I mean, he has some really good followers on there right now. One of the things also Jackalak ended up mentioning, albeit under a different coaching regime, the Capitals are known for being a really aggravating defense-wise on the kill. Good structure on their part. It's hard to get clean entries and open lanes. And that's actually a very good point. Laviolette has a very nice system set up on there. And one of the things that the Caps do is that they're very aggressive, especially on that forecheck. So what happens is that they're going to take up a lot of the open lanes. And any opposing team that's going for the penalty kill against them, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of clean shots, and it's going to be difficult to really penetrate the zone. I mean, a lot of times you're going to be spending more time in the neutral zone or your own end. And it's very strong on how Washington does that. They have a very capable PK unit. I mean, and that's one of the things that they've had as one of their bread and butters for a long time. And especially since their players, even their forwards, are very good, especially with controlling the neutral zone. That's one of the things that allows them to be very effective. And typically when you have some of their more skilled players, like for example with Ovechkin, who can be creative right on the ice, and he can make opportunities out of something that doesn't exist, and he can read hockey defenses very well. That's a huge advantage. I mean, Wilson had a good night tonight with getting some goals. So I mean, you have a very capable unit that's going to be among one of the better units in the league. So it's a very good point that he brings up here. Rick Jackson ends up commenting also, which team is worse, the Sabres or the Bills? I have to say, honestly, there was no excuse for the Bills losing yesterday the way they did to Jacksonville. They were just not ready. I mean, the team was not even close to ready. And especially when you only score 6 points on a Jacksonville team that's one of the worst in the league. Come on. Overall, they have much more talent on paper than what the Sabres have. And I mean, and the Bills know how to win games more right now. But over time, I mean, the Sabres are going to be competitive. And they are actually they actually did get some good wins early on. So I can't say that the Sabres absolutely are horrific. I mean, they're not absolutely horrific, but a lot of what they have right now is young players that are getting, in some cases, their first taste of the NHL. I mean, there's no way around that. It's just, it is what it is. I do think that the Sabres will improve as the season goes on. I do think that we'll see some additional talent out of Rochester come up later this year. Of course, as we go through, as what happens every year in hockey, I mean, you're always going to have injuries. You're always going to have to bring somebody up from the talent pool. You're always going to have to do some retooling and adjustments. But that's how it'll all work out. We'll definitely get a look. I mean, I think at some point this season, we'll probably get a look at Peterka. We might get a look at Jack Quinn. We might get a look at Peyton Krebs. I mean, once Alex Tuch comes back in and is in a lineup full time, once he's cleared from the shoulder injury, I mean, I think Tuch coming in is going to be a nice addition to the offense. I mean, especially with forwards. I mean, he's going to offer something, and I think his speed game and also his skill set's going to be very good. So it's one of those where I think that was a very nice get in the trade with Vegas. I mean, Peyton Krebs is actually the guy I really wanted, and I'm glad we got him. Especially a lot of people are comparing him to having some intangibles similar to Ryan O'Reilly. So if he can grow into that type of player, I mean, by all means, I think, we're going to be okay. It's just time is going to tell, with what's going on. So we'll see. So basically from there, if you want to get in, of course, we'll talk about some other hockey action as well. 929-205-6099 gets you on the air. We'll go for about probably like another 15 minutes or so. And, we'll go from there. To everybody that's been commenting so far, of course, thank you. I appreciate it. One of the things I also do want to talk about real quick is that former Pagula Sports Entertainment executive who was one of the Sabres governors for a while, also with the Bills, Russ Brandon, he actually has a new job. He is now part of the XFL. So yeah, he is back in football. And one of the things I can tell you, he is going to be a president of football operations, and he's also going to manage multiple parts of the league. And this is actually a story that broke a little while ago. We did have some comments. We did actually post it on our page and our Twitter site, which if you go to Horns and Hooves ENT on Twitter, you'll see our latest feeds on everything. I have to say this. Russ Brandon was fired for a reason. And the reason that he was let go was because of sexual harassment. I mean, a lot of people came forward within Pegula Sports Entertainment, and Russ Brandon was given the boot, and there was no second doubt about it. And even worse is he actually lied about a lot of what happened also. And it was to the point where Pegula Sports Entertainment was not comfortable going with them going forward. They ended up releasing him, and basically from there, they decided to end the situation right there. I will give Pegula Sports Entertainment a lot of credit. They got rid of somebody that had a lot of power and influence in that organization. And I'm very glad that they did get rid of him, because quite honestly, after some of the accusations that came out and some of the things that were going on, he honestly did not deserve to be there. So with him being hired into the XFL, who knows if things have changed. I mean, it's been probably a little over a year now since he was let go from PSE, but I will just say this. I don't like Russ Brandon. I never have liked Russ Brandon. I don't think that when he was president of football operations with the Bills that he did a good job, because there's a lot of stuff I think that was royally screwed up. And quite honestly, I'm actually surprised he's back in football. But in either case, I mean, when you are accused of doing what you did and you're let go from a job because of what you did, you know, in a lot of cases, do I think he should have the ability to come back at some point into a different position? Sure, you know, time passes. I mean, there's things that can change over time, but a lot of people, but I know some people today were saying, oh, congrats and all that. The way I describe it on there is what it is. And what we put on our Twitter page is that he was a disgraced former leader. If anyone doesn't like it, too bad. That's the way it is. He is a disgraced former executive of the organization, and he deserved to be fired. And as far as I'm concerned, his performance did not merit him staying here. So that's how I look at that situation. I mean, if anyone's going to be like that to somebody, I mean, that's unacceptable. It should not be allowed. And it kind of reminds me of a little bit more of what we saw with the Blackhawks scandal, which is still unfolding currently. We'll talk about that as we hear more on Buffalo After Dark, obviously. But still at the same point, you know, Russ Brennan, hey, good luck in your new job, but you're not going to get any sympathy from me. And that's just how it is. And Russ Brandon, if you are by some chance watching, I don't care what you think. You are a disgraced former executive. You deserve to be fired. And basically from there, you didn't really do much to merit staying. So if you don't like it, oh well. Not my problem. So that's my take on that. And, you know, we'll just see what happens. I mean, hopefully they'll actually do well as a league again. I mean, it'd be nice to see that, but really from there, I mean, who knows? Only time will tell. We're going to go for about another 10 minutes or so. If you want to get on with any comments, feel free. Facebook chat is up and running. If you want to jump on and talk with me on phone, powered by Zoom, 929-205-6099 gets you on the air. Meeting ID and passcode are all in the chat. And basically from there, you know, we'll go over some different things. One of the things I can tell you, actually, some news that's coming out is that Carey Price is actually back with the Canadians, and there's actually several steps that he needs to undergo before he starts getting time in the crease. So basically, what happened is he had his knee examined on Saturday, and he entered the NHL and NHLPA Player Assistance Program on October 7th. So according to NHL.com. He ended up returning to the team, and basically what'll happen is that Coach Dominique Ducharme will meet with Price tomorrow, and he wants to come back and play. But the thing is that he needs to get back in game shape, and he needs to get back in playing shape. So he did decide to voluntarily take part of the player assistance program, and he met with the training staff on Sunday so they could examine his knee, which was surgically repaired. He wanted to see his teammates for the first time since entering the program, and basically from there, he's getting the help that he needs. So I mean that's good. Basically, with that, one of the things that was reported is he is happy to be back in the rink, and he ended up going 13-9 with a 2.28 goals against, 9.24 save percentage, and one shutout in the Stanley Cup playoffs last season, which ended up helping them get to the finals before they lost in the best-of-7 series to Tampa, which was only a 5-game series. Basically, what happened, he had to have arthroscopic surgery on July 22nd, which repaired a torn meniscus. And from there, the recovery time is usually about 10 to 12 weeks. But basically, from there, he did finally start skating again on September 16th. And really from there, I'm glad to see him taking the steps to come back. And it'll be nice to see him back in the crease again. I mean, he's been one of the better goalies in the league for a few years now, actually. And Montreal definitely needs all the help they can get right now. They ended up starting 3-10-0, which basically they had a season opening 5-game losing streak, so that didn't help out. They left Price exposed in a 2021 NHL expansion draft the day before his surgery, so that also didn't help. The Kraken actually decided not to take him, and they ended up taking Grubauer instead. So at least, so they ended up getting their number one that way. But overall, I mean, he's been their goaltender when they picked him in the 2005 NHL entry draft as a number 5 pick. 360 wins, 257 losses, 79 ties with a 2.5 goals against and 0.917 save percentage, along with 49 shutouts and 707 regular season contests with 695 starts. So, he's definitely got some good credentials. And I mean, from there, I mean, he's won the Hart Trophy before. He's won the Ted Lindsay Award. So, I mean, he definitely has the credentials. It'll be nice to see him come back. And, I'm glad that he is coming back. So we'll just see what happens over time. And then, when he's back, he's back. And Montreal will probably go on a little bit of a run because of it. So that'll be nice to see in the league again, get some rivalries going. On top of that, another thing that ended up coming out with the NHL is, of course, besides the big trade that happened last week with Eichel. Right now, he is going to have surgery this coming Friday, and he is expecting to play in about 3 months. Apparently now the trade has motivated him to say that there's a lot more in him. So with what's coming out on that, he is going to have the surgery this coming Friday. He is hoping to debut in 3 months. And of course, everyone knows that the Buffalo Sabres acquired Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, and 2 draft picks as part of that. So one of the things that he ended up saying is, quote, "I think I've got a lot more. I think I'm only scratching the surface. Yeah, I think a season a couple of years ago, I think that was sort of the start of the way I want to make an impact." And I mean, Jack, there's no question that you are a good player, but a lot of people think that you were a cancer in the locker room. And I understand you want to win. I understand management didn't really build around you. But when they got you some great players like Skinner, when they ended up getting, when you had, of course, Reinhart, when you had, on top of that, when you had Stahl, what happens? I mean, defensively, you're not that great of a player. I mean, you can be creative offensively no matter what, and you are able to make a lot of opportunities. And I've seen you make a lot of opportunities. I mean, you can do some really, really, really neat things. But the bottom line is you've got to be more of a team player, and it's not just all about you. And that's one of the things I noticed in the press conference. And also in some of the interviews, Jack Eichel was all about I. What about the team? Seriously, what about the team? Do you even care about the team? All I'm going to tell you is your new teammates in Vegas are not going to go for that. And you have literally a world caliber roster in Vegas. You've got a great roster of people in Vegas. They're not going to put up with that. So you better change that attitude real quick. And you better start talking about team and not you. And that's just the way it is. So, and then for him to say that, oh, if Buffalo would have given him surgery, that he would have stayed. No, he wouldn't. He wanted to be traded in the 2020 season. So, that's how it is. Chris Carrillo out on our West Coast, he actually does some stuff with our site. He says, hi, Chris, definitely actually at one point, if you want to jump on sometime, feel free. We'll definitely talk some hockey. I know you were watching the game out West, and actually I know you cover a lot with the LA Galaxy out there. So, definitely be interesting, see what's coming out with them. I know, especially when MLS comes back around. So, definitely feel free to share some of that stuff out here also. I know we've actually been part of the site ever since the very beginning. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I know we ended up working together, and it was originally your old page, and morphed it into what it is now. And I know you've still been part of it. So, good to see you on here. And and really, no problem giving you that site where you can check out all the games too. So, it's definitely good to see. Really, with that, not too much else really going on. I just wanted to kind of give a heads up. Sabres basically with what they have going on. Of course, as we all know, they did lose tonight, 5-3 against the Caps. Also want to give a shout out to A-Rich from Built in Buffalo. I know I ended up checking out your show last night, post game. Very interesting show to watch. A lot of good points on there. And thanks for taking my comments on there also. And, we'll have to get you on here one of these days as well. Definitely talk, if not on Buffalo After Dark, we'll have to talk about some football and do some different things. Next contest for the Sabres, Edmonton comes to town on Friday, November 12th. So basically the Sabres are going to have 4 days to get ready. Edmonton 9-1-0. Right now, Connor McDavid and, of course, Draisaitl are having a good season right now. Definitely among the league leaders. So it'll be very interesting to see how this team handles number 97. And, hopefully we'll have a little bit of a better effort. Dustin Tokarski ended up having a pretty decent night in net. But it's just a more day-to-day for Craig Anderson before he comes back. And I would definitely like to get him back between the pipes. So really from there, Friday night, we'll come back at you. Right now, Chris Carrillo, we'll take the last comment before we go off the air tonight. He ends up asking any update on when Craig Anderson returns. Right now, it is just day to day. So, of course, we'll hear a little bit more probably tomorrow and on Wednesday when we end up learning more in the pregame skates, obviously, and we'll kind of go from there. And of course, any news that we have, we'll make sure that goes up on the site. But really from there, I just want to say, it's always a quick half hour when we end up talking hockey on here. And of course, join us Friday, Wednesday night, Buffalo After Dark. We normally start streaming live around 8 o'clock. So of course, 1 hour, we talk about all the sports and a lot of different things going on in the world today. So really until then, I'm Tom, dressed in my snow camo. Take care of yourselves and each other, everybody. I'll see you next time.
After the Horn is an H&H Studio production. Produced in association with Horns and Hooves Entertainment.